here today at Westwood Lakes, a venue I've had loads of success at in the past on the festivals. We've actually come to fish the Tuesday Open today. We're on the Osprey Lake. The weather's not going to be great, but it's not going to dampen our spirits. We're going to still try our best. We're just about to go and draw, so I'm going to go and get a peg, and hopefully we're in for a good day. Speaking to Rich, who runs the match, he wanted to be in the middle and we've drawn the end. But when I used to come here, peg 2 used to be one of the best pegs, but last festival I drew 3 and I did struggle a little bit. But hopefully we're in for a day's fishing. It's full of sort of little F1s, few smaller carp, very odd-eyed, but I don't know if we'll catch them. I'm just going to keep it dead simple. I'm going to start down the edge because that used to be a really good method on here. There's the all in. I'm going to start on pellets there, just to see what sort of response we get, and then we're going to have a maggot line at 5 metres where I'm literally just going to throw not lots of bait because we've only got about 2.5 foot, so probably like 10 or 15 maggots there. I'm not going to feed across yet because I just don't want to go over there unless I really have to, but I have got a rig set up for fishing on the far bank. What I'm thinking here now, just got a little small guru pot. I just want to see if the fishing's going to be good or not, because if it's going to be good, we should catch a lot of fish fishing in the margin with pellets. Just feeding micros, fishing a 4mm expander, and then I'll feed that track line. Like I say, we've not got a great deal of depth here, 2 to 2.5 foot down the middle. It's pretty much the same depth all the way across. My margin line, I'm just fishing it about 10 inches off the bank. So what I'm looking for here really is a nice quick response, just to see if the fish are responding. I've got a pipe here which is just pushing a bit of water in, and there's a bit of muck coming off it, like a bit of discolouring, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, I don't know. Either the fish will like it because it gives them a bit of extra colour, or that water could be slightly colder and they don't like it. So if it's no good, I feel like we're probably just going to end up fishing across and short on maggots. The fish on here are a nightmare for staying on the bottom. They love noise. It's the same on every lake. You throw bait in, and I think because the lakes are so coloured and silty, they can actually churn the bottom up, and it's hard for them to see your bait. But that's a good start. We've got a bite there. Get a lot of fighter jets coming over here, so if you hear the fighter jets, I apologise. Every morning there's an RAF base close by, and they are loud. So again, feed that short line. Little indication straight away then, that's a brilliant little sign. If we get a quick little run here, it'd be brilliant. There we go. It's a great little start to the match, perfectly up to the top lip. Not been great this winter, this peg, but it's probably down to the depth. Now it's warmed up a bit. Hopefully the fish will like being in this slightly shallow water. I probably wouldn't want to draw a peg, even though the middle pegs have been the best area. I don't know if I'd want to be where it's like 5 foot deep further up. When you've got 4 or 5 foot of water and there's a lot of fish in your peg, it's great if they want to come shallow, but if it's a day when it's a little bit trickier, like only 45 pound won this lake last week, which is quite low. I'm expecting more than that today. But when we used to fish this lake back in the day on the festivals, you used to get weights in excess of 200 pound. The stocking's different now. But this side I used to catch a lot of them. Pellets in the edge. Fish were a lot smaller then, and what I was going to say then is you used to catch a lot of them pellets in the edge and shallow. It was a bit of a fish race back then, and used to catch really well for like 2 hours, 3 hours if it was good, and then it used to slow right off. So this is the reason I started in the edge, is if the fish are feeding, they'll probably come in here, get a good quick run of fish, and then the fish start to thin out or slow down. In an ideal world, just catch here all day, great. You won't have to go past 5 metres. Depends what sort of weight you're fishing for though. I mean, last year I think there was a 160 or a 140 on the festival, which would probably be about 100 fish. So busy days fishing, 20 fish an hour. Don't think it'd be nothing like that today. If I was guessing what weight would win today, 70 to 90 pound maybe. But the way we started here, if it carried on all day, you'd have a really good weight, but I am expecting it to slow. But 3 fish and 3 chucks, great start. Not getting loads of silly indications as well. Every one has just been a nice clean bite up to now. Just fishing like a small fast release pot, so probably holds about 100 micros maybe. Don't feel like I need to fish any bigger pot than that. When there used to be loads of smaller stamp F1s in here, like probably averaged 8 to 12 ounce, the key was always to feed next to nothing, and I had a really good spell for, well, I managed to win 5 of the summer festivals, and the key to it was all this style of fishing where you're fishing micros and expanders in the margins. Back then you used to be fishing in really shallow water, but obviously the reeds have grown out and the shells have gone away, so it's a bit deeper now. Back then you'd be fishing in 10-12 inch, catching like 200 F1s for £200 sometimes, £150. Nice stamp fish. Just got a little 3-inch hook length on today, old 13, 16's SLWG, just to try and pin that hook bait down so I'm not getting wafted about. Just got a little bulk just above that hook length knot, just my standard shallow water rig really. Don't really fish any different rig to this. 0.4 bag of float, couple of back shots just above it. All I'm doing is just looking at a little post down there, lining it up. If I come like 4 inch to the left, probably 3 inch to the left of that float, the shelf starts to come up, so I'm just fishing where the bottom's flat, slightly off the bank, just so that my bait's not going to get wafted up that shelf. If I try to fish too tight to the edge, it's really slopey and your bait's just not going to stick on that slope, they'll just waft it off. So I would rather fish off the bank like I am now. See, that's the first bite we've missed, but at least they're happy to come there and feed. You know, the first 4, we had 4 bites, 4 fish, never missed a bite, and then we just missed his first one. But because we're fishing so close to ourselves, hopefully calms them down and we should be able to keep them pinned to the bottom. Like I say, you can see a big pipe in my peg as well. That might offer them a little bit of cover. Hopefully they don't tangle me around it. I'm basically going to fish this line. My plan is to fish this line for as long as I can, and then when they stop coming, I want to say up the shelf. There isn't really a shelf, it's about 2 inches deeper in front of me, but what might happen is they get sick of coming close, and then I'll have to catch them on a top 5, and then if it goes hard and we can't get any bites shorter in the edge, then we'll probably have to ship across to that far bank where we've probably got about 18-20 inches over there on the what I'd call a mud line. The water's been topped up, the lake's been topped up with water recently, so it's a little bit deeper than what I'd like. It's normally quite shallow here, but what it does do, it gives me a bit more depth down the middle. And that could be a good thing, just to hold a few more fish. So there's a fish in my peg now, I'm just getting a little liner. Just waiting for that little fast positive indication. Not lifting or dropping or anything like that, just keeping that rig stable, just imagining where I've fed my little pile of pellets and trying to keep that expander right in amongst it all. If I don't get a bite here now within another 20 seconds, I feel like that fish has been and gone, and therefore I'm going to come back in and feed again. A lot of people would sit there now thinking there's a fish there, I'll just wait until it finds it, but what it's probably done is spread my bait everywhere, so I'm just going to give it a few more seconds. The amount of times now you go back in and just reset this little trap, and all of a sudden it goes straight away. So let's see what happens this time. Pellets in, and that rig straight and right on top of it. Hopefully now they just come straight back to that little spot. Don't feel like there's tons of fish there, I just feel like there's 1 or 2 lingering, not getting lots of indications, just like odd sign of fish, but I'll keep that feed to a minimum. Hopefully we've got 4 now. It'd be nice to get 8 or 10 here just relatively quickly. We started very fast, just got to be careful here not to let it slow up too much, and not even turn round to have a look if Westwood Lakes catching, to be honest. I haven't got a clue really what's happening up there, but I'd imagine we caught 4 fish as quick as anybody else. At least we didn't go in here and not get any signs. We went in and hopefully, as long as nobody's continuing to catch in the edge all day, hopefully it shows that there's a few fish down here. So again, didn't get one that time. Back in, refeed. Keep topping up them maggot lines. So just reset that trap. You see there from these pots, like, that's so important that your bait releases very easily. You don't want lots of noise. You're just encouraging the fish to come off the bottom. You don't want to be banging your pellets out or sprinkling your pellets out. You just want to place your pot on the water. Your bait melts out instantly. And then hopefully your trap's set nice and tight. The fish, you see there, little liner, he's right on them pile of pellets now. Hopefully he's got his head down, and then he'll make a mistake in a second or 2. Go on. Liner. This is why having quite a thick bristle is quite good as well, because that little liner there, I could have struck at that. If I'd had 1.5mm bristle on, it would show that as probably looking like a real bite, but obviously we could distinguish that was a liner. Weren't fast enough, didn't go straight under, so you're not going to be foul looking as many fish, hopefully. That's why pretty much this is the only sort of pattern style float that I use. 0.4 in weight, 0.4 of a gram in weight. Just try and keep it pinned right on top of that bait. When there was a few coming at the start, it was quite easy to catch. Now I'm just getting an odd little sign, as if like there's literally just one or two knocking about. There's not loads of them there. Another little liner, just picking and choosing what they want to eat. When you've got a bit of competition in your peg, I feel like your pellets just get picked up so much quicker. You just come in and start hoovering a lot more, not as cautiously. Again, you don't want to sit there just float watching. If you don't catch it within, we've had 2 or 3 indications now and we've not caught it, there's a good chance you could have ate all them pellets. So I need to come back in, reset the trap, refeed, turn that pot fully over, pellets in position, just empty, absolutely perfect out of that pot, rig in position. You want to try and catch it first time it comes in, so like, ooh, there we go. That one was a bit of a funny bite, yeah, it was a liner that, but that would have been a perfect demo of like how quick you want to catch them, because that fish has definitely gone down to eat the pellets. Obviously the bite was a little bit funny, but it could have easily been a proper bite where it's gone down, picked up off the bottom and come back up. So I'll keep feeding in front of me so that maggot line primed and ready to go when we need it. Let's reset this trap. You want to try and catch them in the first 10 to 20 seconds if you can. The very first time they come in, it's like on your bait, dunk straight away, because after that I tend to find that they probably spread the bait a little bit and they just become harder to catch. If you can catch them while that pile is still quite tight, you seem to get a lot cleaner bites once they start spreading the bait about. See there, that was lovely, nice and simple. So that's fish number 5. I want to say they're averaging just over a pound. Probably got 6 pound, 5 fish. Not massive. There's a lot of like 2 pounders in here, but that could be the difference. Like they might be more in the middle where it's been better, and maybe because it's a bit deeper, they might be more at the other end for some reason. Nothing we can do about stamp though. Like I say, the depth, unless we catch maybe a slightly bigger stamp fishing across where it's 6 inch shallower, not a great deal we can do to try and target better stamp fish. I feel like they're just in areas and that's it. We've got 5 fish. We're doing alright in terms of getting some signs, and I'm relatively happy. I didn't want to be sat here not getting hardly any bites to start with. I feel like we have to catch quite well, and hopefully it might get better, you don't know. We're at the end peg today. Fish could sit in the middle, but they could also push to the ends. What wind we've got is not really, it's sort of blowing off our backs. It's not really blowing to either end, if you like. But we're getting an odd little twig skimming this way, so you never know. Might push a few down if we get a bit of scum and natural bait coming down this way. And the fish could easily back off from the middle where it's pegged like 2 and miss 1. At the ends he's gone every other, so it's 2, 4, 6, 7 for example. So the pegging's a little bit tighter in the middle where the fish have been. And that might favour us today, a little bit more room, spare peg either side. I would have liked a few more signs than this, like it's, there we go, I'm moaning that one on. Would have liked a few more signs in terms of liners, but to be honest, they've been quite well behaved at the minute. It's a better one, probably £1.5, £1.75. So I'm going to say we've got 6 for £8 now. Might just have to be patient and keep feeding this regular. Keep feeding that short line, because that was a really good line for me on the festival we fished in November. In fact, it was my best line by a mile. The only problem is on this lake, because it's shallow, they sit in your peg, you hook one, and sometimes the fish tend to scatter out your peg, and you sort of got to rebuild the peg back up. So feeding heavy definitely want the way. I know it's a little bit warmer now, we could probably feed a tidgy bit more, but back then just throwing like 6 or 8 maggots were best. I feel like the water's too coloured for that now. I don't feel like we're going to catch feeding 6 or 8 maggots today, but you know, it's not going to be a day where we're going to feed lots of bait. We feed 2 or 3 pints of maggots down that middle, that'll probably be plenty. It's not going to be a day where we're throwing 4 or 5 pints in, I don't feel. You normally see the fish colour up as well, because it's shallow and silty venue. They normally cloud up where you've fed. You're not actually clouding up that 5 metre line, which is quite common on here. You throw maggots short and sometimes you'll see it pluming, bit of mud coming up, etc. At the minute they're not doing that, but in this edge there is a little bit of discolouring, so you know, this edge line might be the best line. Like I say, in terms of depth, it's 2 inch shallower here than what it is down the middle. The only difference being is the bottom might be a little bit cleaner here, so we might actually be fishing on a little bit harder bottom. It might be actually easier to catch them in this edge than it is at 5 metres, if they'll keep coming, that is. This feels another slightly better one. Yep, £2, so I'm going to give myself 7 for £10 now. It's just gone a bit quiet in that edge. I'm just going to have a quick look short, see what's happening here. Just put like 50 millimicros in that edge, just to, there's a little indication, that's a good sign. Put 50 millimicros down that edge. You can't throw little balls of ground bait or pellets here from what I'm aware of. So that's what I'd like to do, is just keep throwing a little thumbnail of pellets down there, but I'm going to have to sort of like pot it, try and let a few fish gather again. When they're there I can see a little bit of discolouring, so if I see that I can drop back in, hopefully nick an odd in there. I just want to see what's happening on this short line. Like I say, I've had another little sign there, there's definitely fish there we go. The only problem with this venue is they love noise, so like you can end up foul hooking a few fish on this line. It's a better stamp fish. It's probably my biggest fish, that, £2. So that probably gives us like £17, 11 fish. When the fish are really active, you tend to find like they come off the bottom as well, but I'm not seeing a single swirl or anything here yet. So I'm not going to feed very heavy, like 10 to 15 maggots. I think the more you chuck in, the more likely you are to foul hook them, so hopefully if I can just feed enough to get a bite. Another indication, so there's some fish on this line. See, that one's off the bottom, that's foul hooked. This carries on, I might have to bring the fish a little bit closer. How's it fall up? Yeah, it's just under its chin. Thought it was when I hooked it because it was just off bottom. They do that a lot on here, just linger off the bottom. It's the same on the other lakes as well. Not so much on Swallow because the fish are a lot bigger stamp, but Falcon and this one, it's like them £1.5 F1s. It'd be a nightmare for sitting off deck. I've had a little bit less this time, probably 8 to 10 maggots twice. You don't need to feed loads of bait to get a bite sometimes because it's so shallow. Just got to try and have a little bit of patience, just let them find that bait. Obviously when they churn the bottom up, it's going to be harder for them to see your bait as well. That's the reason I've gone for white maggots rather than reds. I tend to find whites always seems to work better here at Westwood, just because the water's so coloured. Or they can colour the water anyway. That's a weird indication. Gudgeon. You have to net the fish here even though I can't even feel it on my line. And you've got to put the fish back in your net as well. So if need be as well, I might have to put like 3 maggots on the hook. At the minute I'm only fishing double. I'll feed a little bit more bait because that last time didn't seem to work, that just feeding next to now. Clouds are just starting to change colour, going from dark to a little bit lighter, so hopefully this rain will bugger off soon. Oh, there's one of them I was talking about. Nice fish. Gonna give it, it's not quite a pound, but we'll give it a pound. That'll probably take us to like £19. So we're doing alright, we're getting some bites. It's better than I thought it'd be. I'm reasonably happy with how it's going. Put them pellets in the edge, you can see a little bit of colour down there now. So I know there's some fish back in the edge. Just give it a little rest. But I'm just going to stay on this for now and just see how this pans out. I've got a little shallow rig set up as well for this, just in case they start being a nightmare and sitting off the bottom, but don't know if that'll come into play because at the minute there's not loads of fish like coming up right up off the bottom, which is good. I don't really want them to be sitting off the deck and messing about. There's a few lingering off the bottom, like a few inch, getting a few funny indications, but I'm not seeing any swirls, which can happen on here. Sometimes they can just want to be looking up all the time, but maybe that rain's just pushed them back down a little bit. So hopefully we get a good little run on this line and it's just nice and steady. That's another reason why I fish it quite close as well, because I don't want them, if I fish like 7 metres they can come up off the bottom and then they're even harder to catch on the bottom. It's a chunky little one, not quite £2, but we'll give it £2 just to be on the safe side. We'll say £21 now. Obviously there's £55 net limit here, so you've got to be really careful when you're filming. You can lose track of what you've got sometimes, so I don't want to get caught out on my net. Just a little bit short there. I'm just going to feed again just because I was a bit short. Not ideal, but you need some bait around your float to get a bite. Could probably end up bringing these fish a little bit closer, I think, but don't want to do that just yet. I just want to try and get a gist for how it's fishing. I think it's probably going to fish alright. with a little gudgeon. Not really been looking up there because it's hard to see what's happening. I'm just probably going to have to focus on my match and get my head down. I can't really. We've had my hood up as well, trying to keep out the rain. It's hard to. I've just seen two people playing fish, so I feel like it's fishing quite well. Not better than expected anyway, but like I say, this lake is notorious, or it used to be anyway, for shutting down. But the difference damp fishing here now, I think the reason it used to shut down is it didn't get fish loads and the fish were starving and they just fed like piranhas for 2 hours and then they were full basically, but they're a little bit bigger now. Bellies are a bit bigger, hopefully they don't fill up as quickly and it lasts a little bit longer. They're not ripping the bottom up either. Sometimes you get a lot of fizzing because the bottom's silty. They're not doing that, which is a good thing because that just means it's even harder for the fish to find your bait. When it's like that, that's when I'll fish with like 3 maggots on the hook a lot. Might even have to put a pole pot on later on if the fishing does slow down. Just put a pole pot on just to tighten things up, but at the minute I want to be drawing fishing, so I'm going to be loose feeding everything. All the mazes sticking to my hand, nightmare. That's the only problem with rain and maggots, they just don't go hand in hand. So a couple of quick fish on this. There's a fish there now. It might be a case of like catch a couple there, drop back in that edge. Probably got 2.5 foot, I would say, depth wise. Float wise, I've just got a 0.3 carbon slim on. A little bulk, probably 10 inches from the hook, and then one little dropper, number 10 dropper, 4-inch hook length, 16s SLWG, hole 13. Quite positive for that depth of water, but again I don't want to be fishing too light afloat, and it's still quite light. I fish mega light. I feel like my rig could get wafted about everywhere and just end up foul looking even more fish, so reasonably positive shotting pattern. There's another hide. Yeah. Not a great sign because I feel like when the hide are there, there's not so many F1s there. That gives me around about, I'm going to say 22.5 pound. I'm just going to have another go back in this edge. Just regather some fish on that line. Throw a little bit more bait in. We have had 2 gudgeon, which is not a great sign. Let's see. This was colouring up a second ago, but well, probably 3 or 4 minutes ago. It's not colouring up now, so hopefully there's still some lingering. We can get a couple of quick bites straight away. We can get a couple of quick ones here. Might be a case of like nick a couple in my edge, drop back short, nick a couple short, just alternate these 2 lines. Be nice if this rain stops. They said it were going to stop around about dinner time, but I won't trust the weather forecast. Makes it easier when you're dipping your hands in your maggots, you're not getting maize all over your hands and getting your maggots wet. So important to keep your maggots dry, otherwise they can start floating. Don't just sit there with your maggots out in the rain, because they will float eventually and they'll crawl out your tub, which is not great. I've had a couple of indications here, but don't feel like there's loads queuing up. Like I say, you know when they're there because the bottom's so soft it colours up a lot. You're going to catch one on this pellet as well. It always feels like you get it quite early. The longer you sit there, the less chance I feel you've got of getting one. So back in, refeed, keep chucking some maggots on that short line. It's so important to keep your lines fed. It's easy to forget about them, and then when you need to go back on them, they're not primed up and ready because you've been a bit lazy and not feeding it. So just take the time out every time you fill your pot up with some pellets, just to feed your other lines. Definitely not hectic down here. I feel like we're fishing for single fish. I don't know, it just doesn't feel like we're going to get a run again here, but it's early days, you don't know, but I'm just getting that sort of feeling like there's not enough indications. I might be wrong, it might just be a case of being patient, but already I'm feeling like we might catch a few short, and then we might end up having to ship across for the latter part of the match. It's not too bad across, it's reasonably flat. Sometimes they plumb up a little bit horrible. You get a lot of water voles around here and they disrupt the bank. This one's not so bad because it's got quite a lot of vegetation, but the banks can collapse a little bit and you end up with like little humps and bumps and crossing your peg, some of the mud lines. But we've actually got a nice peg across today. Don't know what the hell this is, but he's not happy. Just feed that short line. Is it a carp maybe? It's going a bit mad. This is foul hooked, but looked like a real clean bite, to be fair. Just under wing. That'll give us about 25.5 pounds. I'm going to have another go in that edge, just because I don't feel like I've left that short line long enough to build up it properly. Could probably drop in and get one or two, but I want a little run there really, so I'd like to give it 10 or 15 minutes rather than 6 or 7 minutes. I was on about not getting a run in this edge, but it only takes the bottom to start colouring up a little bit and 2 or 3 more fish come in, and you know, you might get little runs of 2s and 3s there. Because there's a depth of the margin, I'm probably not going to change my line. I'm probably going to stick with pellets there all day. Sometimes it was a little bit shallow, you could swap to ground bait, but I just feel like pellets will be cleaner and easier to catch them. If it was only sort of like 16-18 inch and I could fish against the bank, I could swap this pellet line to a ground bait line, and that might draw in different fish and make your peg a little bit stronger, but I feel if I start feeding ground bait in this depth, it's just going to get a little bit messy and we'll probably start foul hooking an odd fish. So I can keep this to micros and expander. Quite a simple day bait wise, just a few micros, some 4mm expanders and some white maggots. When I go across on the mud, I can just keep that to pellets as well. I feel like the amount of bait, that small fast release pot, I feel like that's the perfect amount of pellets to get a bite and catch the fish. So I feel like I'm feeding the right amount. It's just how regular. Most of the time it's probably like 2 minutes if you've not had one back in, refeed. I'll probably have another 2 chucks here. If I don't get one, I'll probably drop back on that short line. I think the rain might have just knocked them on the head a little bit, because like I say, normally you'd see them pluming up at 5 metres. They're not doing that today, so I don't feel like they're going nuts. Steady, you know, we've got 24, 25 pound-ish. Steady away. But I did think there'd be a lot more fish sat on that short line when I first went on it. We had them couple straight away. This is a problem when your peg's really shallow. It's like the fish don't always sit in your peg. You catch one, they scatter, and you've got to wait for them to come back. And we might be able to go across, and that line might be nice and steady as long as the wind don't get too silly. It should be alright. It's meant to be a little bit windy today, but quite a sheltered lake this. We've got a load of conifers behind us, like a big tree line, and then facing you have like a little hump across as well, so I feel like it's, unless it blows right down the lake, we're going to have a bit of shelter, so we might be fine. A little bit of a liner then. Just feel like there's single fish in your peg. Just need like 2 or 3 to come in, and then they'll make a mistake and pick it up. I'm just going to feed again. And one more chuck down this edge, and then I'm going to go and have a look, see if I can get another little run on that short line. And then every time I come off this line, just pot like 50mm of micros, just so there's some bait in the peg. Don't want to be putting too big a pots in, because for the size of the fish I could end up killing it a little bit. So just enough to keep them interested and something for them to eat, but not, you know, I'm not trying to drag a load of fish in my peg by filling it in with a big pot of pellets. It's never going to be the way when you're F1 fishing. Like I say, in an ideal world, I could just chuck little soft balls of micros down there, and that'd just imitate me feeding a little small pole pot's worth of bait, keep them interested. That's always my go-to way to feed it, if I'm fishing quite short like this, where I can feed it by hand. He dropped on that short line, had a bite straight away, little eyed. Again, not ideal fish we want, but it's a fish, we're putting fish in net, that's all that matters. come off that edge line. I didn't actually feed it, just in case this didn't go under, but if I get another bite here, I'm just going to put 50mm micros back down there. The reason I didn't is in case this didn't go under, I could just drop back in that edge and see if I could nick another one, but now I know that there's some bites to be had on this short line. I'm just going to put enough bait in to sort of last 20 minutes down that left hand side, which I think is like 50mm micros, which is probably 3 or 4 pots worth if I was kinder potting it. Another little eye. He's got a mouthful of maggots as well, which is never a great sign because it means he's been having them all off for himself. I'm just going to pop some micros down this edge. Keep that edge topped up with some bait. I might have to go across a little bit earlier than expected here today. I can't keep getting bites on this line. I'm going to need another line to go to. That edge line might not be the one. Better F1 just top there, slightly to the left. Right, we're just having a little go across. That edge line's died off a little bit. We've got to about £40 by rotating, shortening the edge, which is good. Like I said, I don't know how we're doing it match. So hard to tell what they're catching up there, to be right. But it's good that we've had £40 shortened down the edge. I just feel like now, if I go back in the edge, I'm probably not going to get a bite. There we go, got one across. I'm not going to get many bites in the edge, and I just need somewhere to rest that sort of short line. I feel like I can catch a fish on that short line, but it's almost like you get a couple, and then you've got to rest it, regather the fish, and then hopefully we go back in, get 2 or 3. And that'll be a line where we can always drop in and get some bites. That might even fade later on. We might just end up shipping across all match, but it'd be nice if they're all that stamp. Probably £2 that. It's about 6 inch shallower here than down the middle. So we've probably got like, than down the edge. So we've probably got like 20 inch in this mud hole stroke across line. Doing exactly the same, micros and a 4mm. Actually just shallowed my rig up from the edge. I'm not going to fish any different. I want a slightly longer line anyway, just to make shipping easier. So there's no real need to have a second rig. Like I say, this style of rig is pretty much all I use for sort of 2.5 foot and less when I'm fishing for F1s. So just gently put that pole pot on the water, push that rig up to the bank, quite nice there. I've got like a 2-inch shelf where it's reasonably flat and I can get my rig in nice, so hopefully it's not undercut. It could be, but hopefully it's not undercut. And then we shouldn't have too many problems with fish pushing the rig about. Up to now they've been behaving. You're getting an odd indication, but they're not going daft over there. They're not blowing the bait everywhere. They've been quite settled in the edge, to be fair. I don't feel like getting loads of fish coming in the peg. I had one little carp, about £2 over there as well, which is good. With 3 fish over there now, so hopefully once we start feeding it, because I've not fed any bait when I went on this. I just started from scratch, tapped some bait in, and literally just went in and started to get a few signs. So I didn't want to go putting big pots of pellets in, because that hasn't really worked in the edge for me. So all I'm doing now is just throwing some loose micros in the edge. I'm only fishing on a short kit, so I can be reasonably accurate. It's not something I would do a lot of, but all I'm trying to do is just keep a bit of bait going in down there. If I see any mudding up, I can have another go back in that edge, but I'll be honest, I'm not confident that they're going to come back. I feel like the lake's slowing down, in which case the fish probably won't come as close to me. We had a good little start there, and I feel like it was a little bit warm and we hadn't had this rain last night, because we've not had rain for a little bit. It's cold today. I'm shivering a little bit as I'm fishing here now. I've not put enough clothing on. Once you get wet, you start getting cold, and I would imagine the water temperatures just dip slightly, and it's just slowed the fishing down a tudgy bit, but it's still good. It's still better than I thought it'd be. Like I say, £45 won the match last week. We've probably got £46 now, so it's still better than last week. There was more pegs in last week, which tends to mean that the fish do shut down a little bit quicker. So it might just be a case now of just picking an odd fish off across there, resting that maggot line for like 15-20 minutes, dropping back in. Hopefully we get a few fish gather there later in the day and we can have a bit of a run. I feel like that'll probably be my best line, but I don't know, the fish might stop coming to that as well, in which case it'll just be shipping across and trying to nick an odd fish on pellets. But last time I was on this fish, I've seen a lot more fish moving across. There's not been as many moving across today, to be fair. There's not been many moving even in the middle bit. There's a fish in my peg now. I'm just getting a little, pull up that one. Just getting a little liner then. It's important not to squeeze your pellets in too tight. It's just finding a nice balance of enough to hold them in while you ship across. And then when you get there, you just release mint out of these pots. Literally just melt out once you put your pot on the water. Just turn it round in line with that little yellow daffodil I'm fishing. Bait in, let that bulk come in position. That's why you want a heavy rig, so you can set your rig really fast, because sometimes they'll come in, you can catch a fish within 8-10 seconds. When you're fishing in really shallow water, as soon as your bait's got to the bottom, the fish will be straight on it sometimes. See, like there's a fish literally on my bait. He could have easily just picked my rig up. So what you don't want to be doing is fishing a light rig. It's taking forever to get your rig set in position. And then obviously it helps with stopping your float getting wafted about everywhere, which in this depth of water, you know, they will push your rig about. There we go. to just break down here on number 5 just because I can't do it in one hit. And what I'll do is just keep some maggots going in there. Tried feeding a little bit less bait on that short line. It's not been good. Throwing like 10 maggots were great last time, but this time I feel like I've got to feed a little bit more. It's another little carp, that. Lovely looking fish. What, £2? £2 common. Not had a carp shorter in the edge, so they're probably just all swimming along that far bank, which is good because if there's a few carp to be caught, the F1s do switch off. At least we've got another species in the peg to catch. Had a few eyed early on that short line. I've not caught one for a while like the fish I did catch there. Slightly better F1s to be honest. But it just got to the point where we weren't really getting any signs, so that's the reason I've gone over. Every now and again I just get a few micros and chuck them down there. I'm not expecting to catch loads there, like I said. Maybe last hour it might come good if the fish switch back on. But I know what this lake used to be like. I've only fished it once since they sort of changed the stocking of it. It might be slightly different, but it used to always get harder as the day went on. Hopefully we can just keep getting an odd steady bite. There we go, that's nice. I'll just keep picking them off across hopefully. What's this little F1? Absolutely freezing. But all that warm weather for like a week or two, and then today it feels like February again. There's a few more people starting to ship across up in the middle up there, so that's sometimes a sign that the fish are not coming as close. Obviously when the fishing's really good, you'd probably not have to go past the top 5 because there's enough bites to keep you interested. But when it starts to slow up, you've got to go across then. I don't want to fish maggots at like 11 metres because I feel like loose feeding's important, and if I loose feed at 11 metres my bait's going to be a lot more spread than it would be throwing them out of my hand. And I think keeping your bait tight and accurate is probably a good thing. I had a little go feeding with a pot and throwing a few before short, but it wasn't great. But as the day progresses, I might need to fish with a pot a little bit more and just try and winkle an odd fish out. If there's enough bites and enough fit signs, I'll hopefully just be able to keep throwing them there. But all depends how many fish are coming in the peg really. Another little bite. This is quite good now. This getting some signs at least and catching some fish again. Probably gets me to £10 in this net, which will give me about £50, and I've just got myself a new guru pot. Not that we need it, but if it's floating in the edge, I'm going to claim it. think for now I'm just going to keep shipping over here, trying to put what I can in the net. I'm not going to come off this. The longer I can leave that short line, hopefully the more fish I can gather. And while I'm getting bites on this, obviously I'm not going to come off it trying to catch any quicker. I feel like this is a nice pace to be catching at. We've got £50. I thought 70 to 90 would win. Maybe they're catching a bit quicker up the top end and it's fishing a bit better than I thought, but I can only go off previous form, so could be doing well, do you know what I mean? I don't have a clue. But I feel like if we carried on like this, we'd probably get to £80, so maybe more. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing for now. So 2 hours in, 2 hours left, sorry, and we've got £60. Feel like the edge fishing is getting less and less for everybody. More people are fishing further, which sort of like makes me mind up, because I don't feel like they're going to come strong in this edge again. So like I said, I think my match now is set, fishing across here and down the track on that short maggot line. This is definitely starting to slow up. I've probably caught like 12 fish on this, 12 or 13 fish. Probably had near £20 on it. A couple of nice little carp, few smaller F1s, but even though the fish are not coming in as quickly, I still feel like if you're patient, you will get one. So like this particular chuck, I've just not had nothing last chuck. I've just gone back in, fed it again. I'm just contemplating now whether to put like 100 ml micros in, because I've had a few little carp over there. Maybe I'll be able to feed a little bit more aggressive and maybe drag a few carp in there. And last hour we might catch some carp up on that little mud, but I'm just a bit worried that I might knock the peg on its head as well, because that did do that down the edge. So that's the decision I'm thinking about at the minute. My short line's pretty much set. I'll just keep loose feeding maggots there. I can have a play about when I go on it in a bit, whether I pot a few on it or throw some maggots over it. Throwing's probably been best option today, but as we're just trying to winkle out a few fish towards the end, we might just need to tighten it up with a pot, but we'll try and work that out as we're fishing it. I was just picking off an odd. I've had 4 little carp on this, I think. If I could just pick off an odd one of them, I feel like that just ticked me over nicely, but last sort of 10 or 12 minutes, just not really had many signs. I'm getting a little indication there now, so there's definitely a fish there. See if we can catch this. Thought that might have gone then. It was lingering about. Feel like I've just got to keep shipping and just try and create chances. You know, the more you feed, the more opportunities you create for yourself. Not in terms of volume, but regularity. So at the minute, I'm trying to be patient, but maybe I need to be in and out every couple of minutes and just try and make something happen. Once we start getting a few fish in the peg, it'll fish itself, then you just get bites and hopefully catch fish, and the quicker you start catching, the more regularly you start feeding and your peg sort of picks up. I can't sit here getting no bites though, so something there again. Is it going to go? Probably been in my peg for a minute or two, this fish. There we go. And have another chuck just cab potting, and then see what fish this is. It might be a smaller one. Yeah, Smaller F1. Stamp definitely seems to be bigger down the middle, even though the depth change is not massive. It just seems like there's more better fish down the track. Obviously there's a few carp across. I've had one decent F1 over there. But it's almost like the bigger fish just want to sit in this open bit down the middle. I'm going to have one more feed with a little cad. And if it's no good, I'm not getting regular size, I might just give it maybe 50 mil instead of 100. Just something to try and drag them back in. Your other option is you could feed ground bait and that could kickstart your peg again, but I just feel like it'll send them a bit messy. If it was a little bit shallower, like 12-14 inch, I'd probably consider that option. But I just feel like if I feed ground bait there, I might just start foul looking fish. So, because my peg was reasonably deep, I didn't even actually mix any ground bait up today. But that could be another option. If I'd have plumbed up there this morning, it was like 14 inch deep, I definitely would have mixed some ground bait up. But I feel like they've been quite easy to catch on pellets. But other times you just feel like you need to drag fish in your peg, and that's where the ground bait comes in. But see, like there, I got another sign again. Hopefully it picks up the last hour and we get another little run of the fish towards the end. That's better. It's 2 and 2 chucks. Rain stopped as well now, which is nice. That probably gives us 62.5 pound, I would say. Which, considering I thought 70 to 90 were going to win this morning, we're still on track for that. But I don't come here regular, so I might be well off the mark. I don't know what they're catching at the other end. I can see people catching in the middle, but I can't see if it's the same person all the time. See an odd landing net head go out. I can't make out who it actually is, so I don't know if someone's consistently catching or not. So see if we can get one a little bit quicker again. Like that was quite a quick bite. That was nice. That like minute and a half coming back with a fish. First time the fish come in, we caught it. As long as I'm getting an odd line and an indication to let me know this fish coming in the peg, I'm happy then, because I can just keep feeding regular, setting the trap. Like I say, your peg then starts to fish itself. 10 minutes ago I was feeling like it was fading, and then you get 2 quick ones on the trot. Could just be down to like the fish come in, colour it up for a second, they get a bit of confidence, they linger about for a few minutes, and then the colour drops and the fish back off again. The more fish you can have coming in, rooting about, the quicker they come back generally. A little indication then. Probably going to have a look on that short line just to see if there's any bites on it, because if there's no bites on it, you know, I don't want to leave it till last hour, and I drop on it and it's solid, and I think, oh, I should have been on this an hour earlier. So even though I'm nicking an odd fish across here, I'm going to give it a rest just to see what's happening on that short line, because you never know, it could be good. But if it's rubbish, it tells me where I need to spend my time as well. I've limited my peg now to 2 lines, one across and one short. So I don't have to worry too much about alternating here, there and everywhere. I've just got two lines that will hopefully, one of them will come good, or they'll just keep producing an odd bite to keep me ticking over. Like I say, sat that edge line up. First hour there was an odd bit of colouring down there, now nothing, it just looks dead. And when I'm looking around, again I can see like 2 nets out in the middle of the lake, so I'm catching steadyish up there, but I don't know what weights they've got. When I fished the festival here last year, the stamp changed throughout the lake. Like up the top end there was sort of like a lot more bigger fish. Down this end they were like today, where they're probably averaging £1.25. And then in the middle, Jimmy Rooks on the festival had like 80 fish for £80, maybe less than that, 80 fish for £68 or something. His fish were really small, but he was catching a lot of little stocky carp, like small carp, which I didn't see anything of. His net of fish were totally different to mine, so sometimes people can be catching, or they look like they're not catching. You know, 40 fish could go £80, or 80 fish could go £60. So it's hard to know on a lake like this, because there is a few different stamps and areas of the lake where, you know, the fish will be different stamp, different sizes. See, this time I didn't get one, so I think I'm going to put a bit of bait over there and have a look sharp, because I don't feel like it's going to improve massively if I just keep kindering it. So hopefully this might drag an odd carp into the area. I'm probably going to put like, what's my 200ml pot? Probably going to put like 75ml, probably a third of that 200ml pot, 75ml of micros in, and then I'll have a look short, just see if there's any fish on that short line. But hopefully this might, it's not too much bait to put the F1s off, but it's just enough bait where it might drag some better fish in, like them carp we had before. Another look on this short line. I've not been on this for probably 45 minutes, so I could drop in here and just get no signs whatsoever. We could drop in and there'd be some fish lingering about. I'll put like 15 maggots in the pot. I've been feeding this for a bit now, so you would expect signs pretty quickly. You get a lot of indications when it's like this shallow, so there's a little sign, that's good. We said we had 22.5 in this net. It's probably £1. 23.5. Hopefully they're a couple of ounces heavier than £1, so when I come to weigh in, hopefully there'll be a tidgy bit more. I'm normally quite accurate though with my weights, so let's do that again. Let's put double maggot on, probably 15 in the pot. You don't need to feed many when it's this shallow. Early doors it felt like you had to feed a little bit of bait to get something to happen, but if you start fishing for single fish, it might be better just to feed a little bit, try and catch one at a time, being a little bit more patient. Again, another little sign, so there's some fish lingering there. But this is what it's been like every time I drop back on it. You get 2 or 3 fish and then it starts to slow again. Hopefully now I've got that across line though where I can drop back on if need be. Just keep throwing a few maggots as well. Don't just pot it because your peg will tend to get worse. Actually hide that. When you just pot bait, you're not really attracting new fish into your peg. See that hide there? You can almost shake the maggots out of his mouth. Loads of maggots. So he's basically sat there eating all maggots, which generally means there's not lots of fish there because he won't get a chance to eat them all. Just sat there having a feast. Do that again though. Nice and simple, if you could just drop a few maggots in with pot, catch one, throw a few in, just have enough bites to keep you ticking over. You could easily catch 20 fish on this lake just off that one line now. I'm going to persevere with this. As soon as this dies a death, if it dies a death, hopefully not, but I'm pretty sure it will sort of tail off, I'll build it back up, go back across there. Hopefully we've dragged a few carp in, or even a few F1s, not bothered, as long as we drag something in. And I reckon we'll just rotate these two to the end and hope that only like 80-90 pounds wins and we'll not be far off. If it fishes any better, I don't feel like, I don't feel like we could have caught 120 or 110. If we have a really good finish, we could potentially get to near 100, but we'd need to start catching some 2-pounders. I feel like my stamp's gone a little bit smaller now. I've not had many big F1s for a while. Still shivering as well, like it's cold now because I've got wet. It's bloody freezing today. There's an hour to go now. We've got 71 pound, I think. That short line we dropped in, we had 2 or 3 quick fish and then nothing. Where's this going? 2 or 3 fish, then nothing. And then I've gone back across where I fed that 75mm of pellets and nothing happened. It was rubbish really, so I don't think that worked. I was hoping it'd draw a few carp in, but we did end up catching 2 or 3 carp after a while of feeding. It's another little carp there. It just doesn't feel like there's lots of F1s across there now, but we caught a carp like £2, one about £3. We've ended up catching 4 fish across there. But I think I'd have caught them fish whether I'd have just not fed it, to be honest. Because if it had worked, they'd have been on it straight away, and it probably took like 10 minutes to catch one just by feeding regular. So that probably gives us like £72. I feel like the best thing to do now, just sit across and just pick a very odd fish across, pick off a fish across. Just trying 3 maggots on the hook just to see if they can pick it out any better. It's the first fish I've had on 3 maggots. The only other option I've got here now is I could maybe change from a small to a medium. Just start putting a few more pellets in, just to see if that's any better for them little carp. Just by upping my feed. I don't feel like big potting's the answer at all. I'm not going to put any more big pots in across there. It didn't work in my margin, it's not worked across there. little and often is definitely the best way. I feel like if I drop on that short line it might be good for 1 or 2 fish, but I don't feel like they're just going to sit there and have a run. I think the lake is definitely slowed right down from what I can see anyway at this end. I don't know how it's fishing top end, like I say, I can't see, but hopefully if we can just pick an odd fish off this last hour now, we can get to like 80 odd pound. Can't see me getting much more than, I can't see me getting to 90 to be honest. I'd have to catch 18 pound in this last hour. It's possible, but it needs to start going under, or I need a couple of like 2-3 pound carp, which could happen. The carp could feed late. I'm going to have one more truck doing this with maggots on the hook. It's hard to know because I'm not getting loads of bites, so it's hard to know whether it's right or wrong. I just thought slightly bigger up bait might just, when there's only one fish coming in your peg, it might just be a little bit more visual and they might just pick it out. But again, it's not something I do a lot really, maggots over micros. I just feel like there's single fish coming in the peg though. The first one on that short line, I thought there was some fish gathered there, but once I caught 2 or 3 they vanish very quickly. And it's a problem when it's shallow. It's great if there's loads of fish there because it keeps them down on the deck and they're probably easier to catch, but in the past when we used to fish this lake, the pegs that had a bit of depth always just used to hold fish more, and the fish used to hang in them little deeper holes. The aerators were always good pegs just because you had a bit more depth around them. Not necessarily ideal for catching the fish if it's like 4 or 5 foot deep, but you just fish shallower water and the fish just seem to be in them areas, but it might not be the case today. See, like here, you're not getting lots of indications. You just wait and then hopefully something comes in your peg and you catch it. There we go, missed that one. Could have been a carp, seen a little bit of movement across there then. I'm going to go back to a pellet. I don't feel like that maggots is great to be honest. Another £8, hopefully that'll get us to £40 a net, £80. Did consider sprinkling some micros in, but I don't think that's the case. I think you just got to set your trap. If I sprinkle some in, a bit of noise might just drag some fish in, but I feel it's just a case of setting your trap, and when one comes in, they've been pretty easy to catch. Just for whatever reason, they're just not, whether it's lack of fish or they're just switched off a little bit. First half of the match were definitely stronger. I think what's going to happen now is it's just going to be an odd fish to the end. Probably have like 2 more chucks over here if I don't get one. Drop back on that short line, see if I can nick just 1 or 2 back across. Probably how I'm going to finish my match. Try and set myself a target of realistically 7 or 8 fish this last hour, maybe another £10. And we'll get to a low 80. And there's not much else you can do, just hope that it's been harder for everyone and you know, £80 a good weight on the day. Still plenty of bites. I mean, £70, I reckon we've got like 45, 50 fish, something like that. Go. Feels like an F1. Yeah, it is an F1. £1.50. So that'll get us to about 73.5, something like that. See, when they do come in your peg, it's quite easy to catch. That time then it was like wait, eventually dunk went under. So it's just a case of being patient really, like when they do come in, because the bottom's quite nice there, you know, we've got that little 2-inch shelf tight up against the bank. I don't feel like the bank's undercut, otherwise I would have had a lot more rig getting pushed about and stuff. I feel like we're fishing up against the bank there, so you can normally tell because it slopes up slightly. When it's the same depth right the way to the bank, that's generally when you can tell you're fishing on an undercut. But here, because we've got that little slope, you can imagine it just comes up, and we're being able to push his rig tight up, and that's probably why they've been quite easy to catch. There's another fish there in peg. Yeah, he had that in his mouth for a while. So like no signs for a bit there, and then all of a sudden 2 in 2 chucks. I'm not going to bother with them maggots again now. I feel like I just fish with expander on the hook. Another little stocky carp. Not big, but £1 and a bit. Probably get us to like £34 maybe. Yeah, £34 in that net. It's like they come in a little gang of them and get a couple, and then, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if we get another one now and then nothing for 10 minutes again. Been like that most of the day. First 2 hours it felt like there was some fish coming to your bait all the time. The last couple of hours it's felt like, see like there, a little sign straight away. Last couple of hours it feels like they've come in little pockets, and you've caught a couple of quick fish and you think it's going to get good, and then you need to come off it, do something else. As long as we're getting some bites and signs over here though, I'm not going to come off it, because I might drop in short and there'll be nothing there. I feel like when you've got some fish lingering in the area, you need to keep feeding it and keep them interested, and like I said, I don't want to go over there and put a big pot in. That's not going to keep them interested. It's probably going to put them off if anything. If I can keep getting an odd sign across there, I feel like the best thing for me to do is just be in and out, feeding regular, and if I can feed every 3 minutes the last hour and create 20 opportunities, you might catch a fish every other chuck and catch 10 fish, for example. You might get one every third chuck and catch 7 fish. Little sign then, so it's definitely a fishing peg. I feel like when the carp come in your peg, they're easy to catch. I feel like a lot of them liners are from the F1s. See, like there where I've not had one, I need to feed again to create an opportunity. This is what I mean about creating opportunities, is every time you feed, something might come and have a look. If it doesn't, after a few minutes, go back in, try and gain its interest again with a bit of feed. The amount of times you go back in like this and within 20-30 seconds, like don't you get it, because you're just resetting that trap, keeping that bait nice and tight. The fish comes straight back to that little main pile of bait. If it doesn't work, 2 or 3 minutes later, back in, start again. See, like something's coming and had a look there now. It doesn't disturb my bait too much, hopefully we get it. So the last few minutes now, it's not gone great last hour, I've just literally picked an odd fish off. Barring 2 in 2 chucks as quick as I could get in, it's been quite slow, like not lots of fish coming in the peg. I feel like pellets has been good though, like they've been really easy to catch when they come in the peg. I've just not had fish coming in regular. Whether I could have dragged a few more fish in on ground bait, I'm not too sure. Maggot short's not been great. It feels like there's not been many fish close this second half of the match. Everything's sort of been further away. So in terms of like anything I would do different, I'm not too sure, to be honest. I just feel like we've had a pretty steady match. We set ourselves a target of 70-90 pounds. That's what we felt like might win, but I've heard that Christian Jones on the other end peg has got a ton plus, so that is a good peg, to be fair. And with someone like Christian on it, I'm not sure if he's winning, but I would imagine it'd be hard to beat today with that. But I feel like, we've got, if you'd have said to me this morning you're going to catch, I think we've got about 86 pound, you're going to catch 80 odd pounds sort of thing, I'd have probably took that. See there again, they come in the peg, tiny little indication, you catch them. Just needed like a few more fish coming in, or maybe needed that short line to come good. Maybe there'd have been a bigger stamp of F1s, because there is some 2.5 pounders in here. If there's a few more of them knocking about, maybe this across line would have been better. But I don't think I'd change much in terms of what I've done. I feel like pellets were good early in the edge, before the fish sort of just stopped coming in. Pellets has been good across, it's not been messy and hard to catch them, it's been quite easy to catch them. I just feel like sometimes you need a few more fish visiting your peg and you'll catch them a little bit quicker, but we've had a mint day. You know, considering only £45 won the match last week on it, albeit there was more anglers on the lake, I was still only expecting like £70 to £90 to win, so sounds like it's fished alright, to be fair. Like I said, I know Christian's caught, I don't know if anyone else has caught, but Christian's just caught in his edge, just nice and steady, from what I've heard. I've not been able to catch anywhere else, whereas today, like, the edge has been good at the start, quick £20 sort of thing down there, but then it's not really, nothing else has really come in then. And you know when they're there because, like I said, the bottom were clouding up a little bit that first hour, and then it's not really clouded up since. Maybe if it had been like a wind blowing down here with a bit of a ripple, more fish would have sort of sat in front of me and I would be able to catch in my edge a little bit better, but that's the all out. We're probably going to be first to weigh in as well, so I'm absolutely freezing. We'll get weighed in and then we'll have a little catch up and conclusion about where we've ended up, etc. But no, I've had a nice day. If I was a betting man, I would hope that I've got about £87, £88, so we'll see how bad of a liar I am. So we finished the match, we've ended up with £97, it was £10 out on our estimate. Still not been enough to win the match though. Christian Jones managed to win the match off the other end. He's had 112, and then Tony Evans next to him's had 101. So we've ended up third in the match. Decent day, I'm really happy with that. You know, I sat down this morning thinking £70 to £90 was going to be a good weight. We've got a little bit more than what we expected. We've had plenty of bites, we've had to rotate it. Would have been nice to get a little run of fish somewhere, but realistically I'm sort of £15 off. It's probably another 10 fish, it's another 45 minutes fishing the sort of pace we've been catching, so could we have caught that? Other than a few bonus carp maybe across, I don't think we could, to be fair. I feel like I've had a pretty decent match. I've not sat there, I've not wasted time fishing for, you know, little runs where they've not been. I've sort of moved about quickly, and we've had a really good day. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching it, and look forward to doing another one for you.